Hello everyone, this is Western New York Fly Guy. Today we are going to be tying a fly called the White Death. It's a streamer fly meant to imitate an emerald shiner or a small bait fish. It's a good springtime pattern, but it works well in the wintertime as well, dead drift or swung. I'm going to be tying it in white with the pearl Mylar tubing, where we will need some white woolly bugger chenille. We will also need some red copper wire. I'm going to need some white Zonker strip, and we're also going to use black thread for this pattern. So we'll start off by tying towards the back of the hook here, nipping off the thread. The next thing we're going to do, we are going to tie some of this copper wire in. I tie a whole shank full so that I can get a little bit of weight put on here, because this wire is mainly meant for a rib. So I try and keep that at the bottom, secure it down, go front, and then all the way back. You just move that wire out of the way for now. Next thing we're going to do, we are going to go forward, back to the front of the hook, where we will come in and tie our small white whirly bugger chenille. You don't want to get too close to the eye, because we're going to need to put a little head on it and whatnot. So you get that on there, and you move your thread towards the back of the hook, where we will secure the woolly bugger chenille. Once you get back there, just simply tie it off and cut off the extra. Next step is to get your Mylar tubing and measure out a shank of the hook. I like to give a little extra and frill the end to give it a little bit of flash. So we got a little at the end, and there's the front. We're just going to give it a little cut. So there is some material on the inside of this tubing that you can just pull out a little bit and then pull it out the rest of the way. So now you've just got just the shiny pearl stuff, which you will carefully put onto the front of your hook. Pull it back just so you have a little bit out front here to tie onto at the end of the pattern. Start with a couple of loose wraps and then go tighter. See, now you've got a little bit of a flashy tail on there. And once you've done that, you can then take your Zonker strip, you measure it out to the front, and wherever your thread is, separate it out a little bit, wet your fingers down, pull the hair back, pull the hair front. Always make the tail just a little bit longer than I think I need it to be, so that I can just trim it off later if I need to. Now I put just a few wraps down, and I take my larger whip finisher and whip finish the back. Once that's done, you can nip the thread and then get your fibers back on this. Go forward and pull it back. Now with that same black thread, you go to the front of the hook, you tie in, then you want to secure this Mylar tubing. Now I usually start with a couple of loose wraps and then tighten it up. And this is where you might want to trim off whatever little excess there is. Now this pattern works well with the silver Mylar tubing as well. The next step is to take that copper wire, put a wrap right in front, and then just do a few wraps to give this fly a little bit of a rib. And what I do is cut it off, and then pull that last little tag end part forward on the hook, tie it down. Now the only thing that's left is to pull this zonker forward. And even if you have a little bit, you want to move your thread to the back of the head. Tie that in. Just a couple of wraps. Because you can see that I've got a little bit too much zonker strip out front here, which you can easily just cut right off and throw it away. Trim this up a little bit. Now just secure it down. I like to make sure that there's really not much white, if any white, poking through. Make a nice black, smooth, even head. Take your whip finish tool. Do a couple whip finishes. And they're done. Now, what I sometimes like to do with this fly is the tail on this is just a little long. You want maybe a 1/4 inch hanging off here. So just bring those fibers forward, clip it off, and you can clip it at a little bit of a T, or not a T, a little arrow portion of it. You can see how the bottom is not cut square off, it's kind of at a point. But there you go, that's the White Death. You can dead drift that or swing it. It's a great pattern for spring steelhead and post-spawn brown trout. Hopefully you guys can give this fly a try, and tight lines everybody.